He supported
it right there.
He did till I quit in 2002. Because my mom passed away at 95. And I said, boys, I'm done.
Yeah.
Mom wanted to go. Mom would always be there. I said, I'm done with it. I said, don't fool with it no more.
Yeah.
My dad told me, he said, son, you ain't going to quit. I said, Dad, I said, I'm done. I said, your mama won't be there. And I said, I'm done with it. He said, you ain't going to quit. I said, well, Dad, that's the only way I ain't going to quit is you go with us.
Right.
I said, if you go with us, I'll go. I said, but otherwise, I'm through.
Yeah.
And he went with us, and in 96, I had to run a late model. And, you know, you've always heard you got to be around at the finish to be competitive.
Right.
And that year, I won one feature, but I was always consistent. In
96.
In 96, consistent to run in the top 2, 3, 4, week in and week out with a low budget.
Right.
And Keith Lomar, which is a dear friend of mine, me and him come down and we tied in the points for the championship in the late model. And I asked him, I said, how did you guys come up with this idea? How did you determine? And they said, off of wins. And I said, let's go off of consistency. Let's go off top 5s.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't do it, you know, but I mean,
Yeah, oh yeah.
but when the bottom line was over with, said and done, I might not have got the title that I'd won the championship, but I got to pay for it.
Right.
You know, that meant more to me
Right.
of that. And we just struggled along, and then just things just got to get more and more expensive.
Yeah.
And my son had 2 boys, and I'd missed a bunch of stuff, so I quit and took over and run Wartburg there for
You did?
a couple of
You
years.
was promoter?
I was promoter. Scotty Green, Jock Raymond, they owned it. And they leased it to somebody, and they talked to me about helping them. And when they did, and they didn't have the cars.
Right.
And so they shut the gates down, and a gentleman there in Harriman by the name of Brian Frost, me and him went to him and talked to him, told him, said, hey, we'd like to keep the tracker going, but we ain't got the money to do it by ourselves. And they said, well, we'd like to keep it open. Well, let's work some kind of deal. So we worked a deal that we could take the track and they'd back us with it.
Right.
And they told us that guys don't want nothing to do with it. It's your all's deal. And got to calling around. Scott Randolph, Jeff Smith from down in Dayton, Billy Palmer, just different ones, you know, trying to get cars to come. And when we did, their pet peeve was that they didn't get their points money. And I said, boys, I can't promise you nothing. But I said, if yous will come and run with me, I'll promise you one thing. I'll do my best to get you what I can.
Right.
I ain't gonna promise you something that ain't mine,
Right,
but I'll
right.
promise you I'll go back for you.
Yeah.
And I went back to them and told them, the guy said, hey, we need, I don't know the whole story, I just know they're upset with points money.
Right.
And I said, the only way we're gonna get these cars, we gotta have them guys at points money. Now you
Right.
all need to tell me something so I can make this phone call. And they said, we'll pay them, but said we can't pay, it had to be 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
So I took and called, we just used Mike there, hey, here's what I've got. I tried for both. I didn't lie to you.
Yeah.
But I told you I'd go fight for you. This is what I got. Will you come? Scott Randolph, Jeff Smith, different ones needed that money.
Right.
And they come up and I said, guys, I won't have it but for 2 weeks. But I promise you I'll have your money.
Right.
Well, when they come and started rolling in, I had their money and made sure that
Right.
they got paid.
Did what you said.
And, I mean, we had a field full of cars, and, you know, these guys, they didn't want to keep up with the headaches and stuff.
Right.
So, just like you and I doing it, at the end of the night, you'd take the money, I had the key to the money bag. Or if I took the money bag, you had the key.
Yeah.
And we picked up and took off with it and made a go of it.
Right.
Wartburg's first time we ever had a $7,500 race.
Wow.
I put it on. We did charge entry fee. And we had rules, and we told these guys, it come a big rain. I told them, I said, guys, I said, we're going to reschedule. Well, when we rescheduled, they come back. And told them, I said, boys, if you change any motors, you better make a note of it right now. I said, because all I got's a sheet of the paper. You know,
Yeah.
so you better be right. Didn't nobody change nothing. Well, 7,500 win, 37.50 for second. You know, I was good money back
Good
then.
money. Yeah.
And we stand down there, and I just had my arm up beside the guy, presenting him a check, and had my arm up on him. They come across the radio and said, hey, said, he just been protesting. I looked over at him, and I said, better not get too attached that you just got protested. I said, you better be right. And when he did, when we got down our scales, I took and had the paper, and I said, now, before you pull up here, or you got the motor in that you're claiming a weight for, I'm legal. I said, that ain't what I asked you.
Yeah.
I said, when you roll up here, you better make sure
Yeah.
you got what you're saying. I said, you don't pull up here.
Yeah.
Well, we wound up and took the court over it.
Oh, wow.
Had to go 3 times to beat the guy.
Oh.
And so they come back and they said, you want to do it again? I said, oh, I'm done. No, I'm done.
Wound you up right there.
They
Yeah.
me up, but then my son got started.
Yeah.
Got to following him, helping him. And just like Bob and I was talking, you know, he'd get mad at me. We
Yeah.
started him out in the pump. We started out in the front wheel drive and flipped. And then my wife, she was working for me at the time at the racetrack, and you could hear her over the PA system. And my brother come running by and he said, hey, that's Darren. I said, what happened? He said, you flipped. I said, you on the 4-wheeler, go check on him. I got to him, and when I did, I said, you all right? He said, I bit my tongue. I said, how come you bit your tongue? He said, I said a bad word, Daddy. Said, when it flipped, said, but I bit my tongue afterwards. I said, you shouldn't have been saying that. That's the reason why you bit your tongue. And so his mom and them was going to Dollywood the next day, and I said, you going to Mama? He said, why? I said, I'm going to Mama, and you go some more. He said, what do you want me to do? I said, if you don't want to go, don't go. She hadn't been gone 15, 20 minutes. I looked over at him. I said, you still want to race? He said, well, yeah. I said, come on, let's go. We took off. And I bought a car, and I come back and told my brother, which me and my brother's tight. We was 50-50. I said, I bought that car. He said, I'll give you half. I looked over at Darren. I said, better keep your mouth shut. I said, when you both be in the doghouse, I'll be worse than you are when your mama gets back.
Yeah.
So I ended my racing and got him started. And
He's went on to be a very successful racer.
he has become very successful, and preached to him back a here, even when he was growing up, just like the story Mike told you about his dad. It was a deal with Darren. He was in school, and he was running with the wrong crowd. And I told him, I said, buddy, we'll race. The deal is, that crowd you're running with, we need to work on the car. You need to be here. If you're not here, old Dad's not going to work on it. And had to break him a little bit. He'd come up, and his buddies, is all going racing. He said, let's go. I said, where we going? He said, we're going racing. I said, the car done? He said, well, you got it fixed. I said, no, I didn't. I said, I told you, if you was here,
Yeah.
we'd work on it. If you ain't here, I ain't working on something that ain't getting the tire up. I said, no. So he decided he wanted to race and become very good with the Mod Beanie 4-cylinders. We run Spring City on Friday night, go to Watford on Saturday night, and won track championship at both tracks in the same year.
Wow.
And then we got to go and traveling at KMSA with him, and went to Green Valley, went to Bolton, Alabama, different places with it, Duck River, places,
Yeah.
you know. And he kept saying, Dad, I'm ready to move up. I said, well, you go up with your portion and we'll buy one. Well, just like I said, you know, put the right people around him.
Right.
We come down Blue Ridge, Georgia, and everybody knows the dirty white boy, Anthony
Yeah.
White.
Absolutely.
Well, Anthony's my buddy. And, you know, they built the DWB car.
Right.
And we went down there and bought that car and brought it back by Anthony's because he still had the jig at the time. And he walked out there and he said, you dog. I didn't know what he was talking about. And I said, what you call me a dog for? He said, said, I wondered where that never went to. And we set it on the jig, and it was bent. And we fixed it. And finally got him done and took him to Wartburg to let him start out in the sportsman division. And that's when the sportsmen at the time, they changed the motors where it had to have a dual plane intake, flat top, flat tapping, stock rod, whatnot.
Right.
And he wound up first year in it, got Rookie of the Year, and won twice or three times with it. And come back and wound up, they opened up I-75 over here at Sweetwater. It's closed forever, and the Kyles opened it and shortened it. And took him over there to it. And it's right at the end of the year, and I think we run 3 or 4 times and won 3 of them. We went 3 times. He won the 3 times he went. We let Anthony White drive it. And we moved it up with a dual plane and all and put it in the limited class. And so the next year, we went back, and he won, I think it was 7. One year there, I don't remember what, but as of right now, unless it's changed, I think I heard it last year, he's the all-time winningest driver with the most wins. And I think it was like right at 50-something in the time span that they was opened back up. And the year that he won back-to-back championships in that class. And the year that he won the championship is a big accomplishment for me. I got the Crew Chief of the Year award for, tutoring.
Absolutely.
And but I was telling them, somebody said, "Could you tell a story?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "No matter where he started at when he first started out in the 4-cylinders, if he drove on the front row, you go at the back. If he finished second or third, go to the back. I wouldn't let him start where he was at."
Right.
And he'd get so mad at me, his face was a bit red as this man's shirt right here. And he said, "Why are you doing this?" And I said, "Well, you need to learn how to race before you race." I said, "Because them guys out there, they don't owe you nothing.
There's art to it. You
got to get their respect.
That's right.
Or they can make your life miserable."
That's right.
And finally, one night, never forget it, took him over here to Crossland. And there's a big old pile up. Next thing I know, he's up on the front row, and I'm out there, go to the back. And he just drives by and does like it right there. They take off, said, "I'm mad." Here he is, he's running second.
Yeah.
And they got in a lap car, and it had been a tie rod. Well, he still wound up, I think, finished 3rd, 4th. He come in, I told him, I said, "That's a good way to get your butt whooped for pulling a boneheaded deal like it." He said, "I had to prove to you that I could drive it. You wasn't going to turn me loose."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But we support him, and
Absolutely.
he's pretty good. I think in the sportsman's, if I was a guessing now, I think he's up maybe to about between 90 to 100 wins in the sportsman division.
Wow. That's great.
So
That's quite an accomplishment.
it is for him to be 32, 33-year-old. And I tell him daily that he ought to be thankful. And I said, "You're blessed, son." I said, "You're blessed that the people that's around you," just like Randy Weaver. I felt like I took him to the point that my brother and I took him to this point that we couldn't take him no further, and talked to Randy and asked him. I know he had a program, and he said he'd be glad to help him. And so Randy took him under his wings, and so we do a little bit of the 602, that Red Clay Series
Oh, yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
Do some of it, and then we still run the sportsman division.
Yeah.
Anthony White's put him in his car, and he drove it. And I know Mike remembers. Remember Brad Coffey?
Yeah.
Brad's daddy, he's called and wanted him to drive for him, and so he'll drive a little bit for him, and things like it.
That's
But he's had a bunch of good people around him. Anthony, got to tell you this story on him. I mean, I could say something to him and he wouldn't listen.
Right.
But if you or Mike or somebody else says it, he'll listen. But I come in one day out there at the shop because we kept our car at Anthony's forever. And boy, Anthony's ripping him up one side and down the other. I seen tears in his eyes, and when he did, Andy went over to me and he said, probably pretty rough on him, so I probably shouldn't have said that. I said, "Hey, wear him out." I said, "He'll listen to you. He won't listen to me." I said, "If he's big enough to not listen, he'd be big enough to listen to somebody."
There you go.
And Anthony told him, said, son, said, I don't get to watch you race much. He said, you've let me down. And he went back, he said, hold on just a minute. He said, they're on the same stuff you are. I said, you've let me down. So a week or two later, Anthony shows up to races again, and we're parked there, and we go up there in stands to watch where we can see. And he always told him, he said, you don't lift. And we stand there, and son, sure enough, he didn't. He went on, and I mean, he was stretching on out there, and the cows come out, and Anthony come up in. He said, hey, I said, yeah. He said, run in there to the fence and tell him back off of it. I said, hold on just a minute. You started this, Gone. You go down there and tell him. And Anthony told me, he said, you know, I said, I probably shouldn't have got on him near his heart. He said, I've tore up a bunch of race cars. He said, now, he's a racer. He said, he's a thinking. He said, he's looking out. He said, me? He said, I'm wide open. He said, I'll tear stuff up. I said, well, I appreciate that, but just like I told him, I said, son, I said, the good Lord's blessed you.
That's right.
Right people have been around you. I said, people have seen a little bit of you. I said, asked you to drive their stuff. Look at, you know, be proud.
That's exactly right.
I said, because Dad didn't do it. I said, you know, your uncle didn't do it.
That's right.
You put the work into
That's
it.
right.
But I said,
Same as you with your dad.
Yeah.
Yep. You just had his support.
I had his support, but
And now he has yours.
he has mine, but his little boy, and I know you've seen a picture of it. I'll tell this story, and then we'll do whatever you want to. But it was in 2019, when he took and had that bad wreck. I had a little grandson. He is my little grandson. It was him and his wife and his daughter. My wife was at home, and she was having a calf. When he flipped, he took a bad spill, boy. But the little grandson, when we had him over and got the car over our trailer and went taking the pieces off, you know, body pieces, stuff, trying to get it loaded up in the trailer, little grandson looked over at me and he said, Papa? I said, what, buddy? He said, my daddy messes up everything, don't he? I said, what are you talking about? He says, look at my race car, Papa. Look what he's done to it. And, you know, just things like it. And his little boy loves it to death. His girl, it's a family deal.
That's what it's all about.
But just like I told him, I said, son, don't make the mistakes that your daddy made. I said, you know, I missed a lot of things when you boys were small. I said, if it meant going to watch you all or it went to go racing, I said, I went racing and wished that I could take it back.
Right.
Here's the deal. So these kids got something they want to do. I said, let that race car sit. Don't miss what them kids want to do. Do what they want to do. Right. We can go race later.
Right. Absolutely.
So I'd say I'm proud of him. My other son, proud of him. He wanted to get into it, but he didn't have the temperament.
Right.
So he decided he wanted a bass boat, and I said, well, let's sell all your go-kart stuff and buy you a bass boat. We'll be money ahead.
Well, there you go. Mike, you got anything else for Terry?
No, just, you know, Terry was a good one. He got around Wartburg probably as good or maybe better than anybody, I would
17
say.
feature wins.
And I don't think he ever got the recognition, but he was good. He was a really good racer. And a good person.
I was around a bunch of good racers. You, Sherman Howe, Charlie Jackson, Jim Brummett, Dave Bilbrey, Mark Martin. I even raced with Mark. Sam and Rick Williams, Mike Halfley. You know, that will go again. It's in different eras. But each era, there's a bunch of good people in there. But it takes a whole bunch of people around this to make it all work.
Absolutely. How about you, Gary? Got anything for Terry?
Yeah, you've done two things. You've owned a race car, you've drove a race car, and you've run a racetrack. Which is the best?
There ain't no best out of it.
You know, of course, we never had a racetrack. We always had race cars, you know, but that it'd take a good man to run a racetrack.
I'm gonna tell you something. You know, we're all here for the same reason, talk about what you do it for, the passionate. It was a passionate, even still yet right now, fixing to turn 64 years old this week. And still got the same love for it that I had when I was smaller.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you gotta have that knack or that passionate to do it. You know, and you sit back and look at it, you look at the racetracks that's closing, you look at the old Sparta, look at Baxter up here at Tennessee National, you look at that one, you look at different ones that's a closing, Cleveland, you know,
Boys now.
Boyd's. You gotta have people that's willing to step up and do it. But what a lot of people don't realize, and I'm world's worst for it, if I don't like something, I'll tell you, but they won't step up and do what a lot of these promoters are doing.
Nowadays, they don't want to put the time and effort into it because I know, I've said before, like with the race car, and I'm sure the track is worse. You gotta live with it. You gotta be there with it every day and every night, and you gotta look after it.
Well, the people that I run it for told me, I said, you won't be like we was, said, you won't be there every night or this or that. Said, you'll be there probably 10, 12 hours a week. Well, boy, that was a joke. It wound up trying to work a 40-hour work week, and you was putting 50 and 60 hours in by the time it's all said and done, and even more Monday through Friday. It didn't just stop on Friday. On Saturday, you had to start getting ready to do something. I told them, I suppose, I'm not fooling with it on Sundays, period. I said, every time I've raced on Sundays, I said, I can tire up more than I can fix on Monday. And I said, you know, there's a reason for it. I said, I'm not going to do it. But, I mean, it takes a special knack person and a understanding wife, kids, because you don't realize that what you give up.
It's family. It is. It's all family oriented. I mean, it has to be.
It
I mean,
does.
it's just like if you had any of those people against you, you wouldn't be able to go and do it because it would just be on your mind for one thing, but you know, the support means everything. So with that, if you guys ain't got anything else, years ago then, all the people were cheering for Terry Goins.
Yes, sir.
And nowadays, Darren Goins. And
Yeah.
it's because they support each other, family, and that's what racing's all about.
Well, I mean, she walked in, I go ahead and tell on his mama now, she's in here, you know, she didn't like the idea. She told us, she said, guys, it ain't giving you no money on it. But she said what it will do, she'll come down if he needs something for safety, if it's a helmet, new fire suit, or shoes, or the Hans device,
Yeah.
I give her credit, she'd be the first
She's
one
the
to
first
do
one
it.
there, yeah.
But his uncle and myself, you know, we got some sponsors behind him.
Sure.
Not big ones.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'll say this and then I'll close and you can do whatever. That's just like the car he's got right now. Somebody said, you want to retire? But she even said it. I said, no, I ain't going to retire. I said, my habits won't let me.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's been a lot of things happened health-wise for me that, you know, don't tell a lot of people. Could have been gone a year ago.
Yeah.
But, you know, I take my money, I spend it on my sons, no matter what they want. But I looked at her, I said, you know, I could retire. I said, but you know what? I said, I'm going to spend it all before I leave here because I said, they ain't going to get to fight over what's left. I said, I know there's enough here to keep you. I said, you know, Darren, if something happens, Darren's got it. He gets the racing stuff. The other boy gets this and that. I said, they ain't going to have to worry about fighting over no money.
There you go. Well, we'll conclude this episode of Southern Dirt Motorsports with that right there. You guys like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.